Have you ever felt that the life you're playing is not a script written for you? That every proper word you speak, every correct decision you make, every round of applause you win, feels like cheering for an actor who has nothing to do with you, parents, mentors, society. They are the screenwriters, and you, just a tired puppet. Your so-called self, your tastes, your desires, your beliefs. How much of it truly originates from within you, and how much is a virus? Because this journey is by no means easy. It means you must confront everything you have repressed, forgotten, and distorted. But this, too, is the only path to freedom. On this journey, we will explore what Jung called individuation, the great process of becoming a whole, authentic human being. Are you ready? A life propped up by it will ultimately lead to an inner wasteland. The tighter you cling to this mask, the farther you drift from your true self. So if the mask is not you, who are you really? To answer this, we must gaze upon the other side of the coin, the part of you that has been violently suppressed and pushed into the abyss of the unconscious. Jung called this the shadow. Your true quest begins here. But be warned, what is hidden in the shadow is not always easy to face. Silently implanted in your mind by the outside world. Admit it, to gain that pitiful sense of belonging. But here is the brutal truth. What you repress never disappears. On the contrary, it gathers strength in the darkness of your unconscious, growing more powerful. It acts as a silent puppeteer, influencing your emotions, shaping your fears, and even dictating the course of your life without your knowledge. Jung described the shadow as the hidden side of the psyche, composed of everything denied throughout your life, forbidden desires, contained anger, weaknesses you won't admit, traumas you've tried to forget. You were taught to be humble, to be quiet, to hide your sharp edges to please others. Without it, social cooperation would cease to exist. But the deadliest danger lies in fully identifying with this mask, when you begin to forget whose face lies beneath it. It's 2 a.m. You've just returned from a successful party of clinking glasses and hollow chatter, back to your impeccably designed living room. The air still holds the cold, cloying scent of expensive perfumes from the party. You unconsciously reach out to smooth a non-existent crease on the sofa, and in that instant, a wave of immense, indescribable emptiness hits you, making you feel suffocated for a moment. How long has it been since you lived for yourself? How many times have you said yes when your soul was screaming no? How many times have you chosen silence to avoid conflict, allowing your true feelings to be trampled? How many times have you worn a smile on your face while wanting to scream at the top of your lungs? When the persona is no longer your tool but your master, you become a mere actor, playing a role you never chose in a tragedy that feels alien even to yourself. Or, you were told you must always be strong, lock away your vulnerability and doubts, and constantly project an air of confident control. Unconsciously, you began to shape an identity that was not yours, but merely a reflection of what the world expected to see. This is the power of the persona. It's everywhere. You are one person at the office, another at home, and someone entirely different with friends or on social media. You switch between these masks with ease, perhaps even taking pride in it. And love, you've been learning how to modify yourself since childhood. You learn to hide, to suppress, to become a likable person. You handcrafted a mask for yourself, what Jung called the persona. And with that, you drifted further and further from your true self. Eventually, beyond the mask, there is nothing left. There is a price for living in a state of complete disconnection from your true self. That price is the anxiety, the dissatisfaction, the emptiness that you feel day and night, which can never be filled no matter how much you achieve. Do you feel that no matter how high you climb, how much praise you win, there's always a black hole deep inside, swallowing all your sense of accomplishment? That is because what you truly need is not out there. It's not in a better job, not in a perfect relationship, and certainly not in the approval of others. It is within you, buried deep under layers and layers of social conditioning and self-deception. A deep, unsettling feeling from the core of your soul is screaming, telling you, this is all wrong. Day after day, you put on the mask called normal, fulfill obligations that aren't yours, smile and nod in the crowd, appearing flawless. Yet, when the world finally falls silent, when it's just you and the endless night, that cold question emerges, who am I really? The master of psychology, Carl Jung, would tell you that this sense of disconnection from yourself is not your imagination, but a profound symptom. It's a warning that you are deviating from the most central task of your life. Most people wander through their entire lives in this fog, living in carefully manufactured identities, imposed expectations, and tragically believe that this is all there is to life. They die without ever having had a single honest meeting with their own true soul. And now it's your turn. The real question is, do you have the courage to dive into the abyss of your own psyche, to discover who you really are? To survive in society, you learn to perform. Is it useful? Of course, the persona can win you acceptance, but not fulfillment. It can bring you compliments, but not genuine happiness. If the persona is the disguise you wear to be accepted, then the shadow is everything you hide to avoid being rejected. What's more tragic is that many things in your shadow are not bad at all. They are simply parts of you that, at some point, were deemed unacceptable by some authority, a parent, a teacher, society. Perhaps as a child, you showed too much curiosity and were scolded for being inappropriate, so you learned to shut up. Perhaps you felt the impulse of anger but were taught that's wrong, so now you habitually swallow all frustrations until they erupt violently at an unrelated moment. Perhaps you showed your sensitivity, but society convinced you it was a sign of weakness, so you learned to arm yourself with indifference. It doesn't appear one day like a magical epiphany. The self only reveals itself to those who are willing to face the whole truth about themselves. You must actively and arduously seek it. It is an expedition deep into your inner world, a confrontation with everything you were taught to hide, a reconciliation between your most authentic desires and the restrictions of the external world. Will you continue to play the perfect counterfeit, filling your inner void with the praise of others until your life ends? Or will you embark on this destined to be lonely path of truth-seeking, embrace your shadow, and become a whole, authentic self? This decision no one can make for you. And beneath it all, deeper structures, the universal patterns that shape our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, the archetypes, are at play in the sea of the collective unconscious. The hero, the sage, the rebel. These ancient figures are within you, driving your journey. Without understanding these hidden forces, you can never truly understand yourself. All of this, all the parts of you that were denied, did not vanish. The fear of losing the identity you've spent a lifetime building, the anxieties and frustrations that once seemed inexplicable, begin to have a clear source. You understand why certain patterns repeat, why certain situations affect you so deeply, why certain relationships were doomed to fail. You begin to realize that throughout your life, there has always been an inner voice trying to guide you, but you were too busy trying to play an acceptable role to listen. The fear of realizing that many of your past choices were not truly yours. The fear of facing the parts of yourself you have denied for so long. This fear keeps the vast majority of people frozen in place. They spend their entire lives clinging to the persona, pretending to be someone else, while their shadow operates from behind the scenes, sabotaging any chance of genuine happiness. But when you begin to consciously engage with your shadow and question the masks you wear, something incredible happens. You start to feel a kind of freedom you have never experienced before. You realize you no longer need to pretend, no longer need to please everyone. You begin to make decisions that resonate with your true self. They merely hid in your shadow, waiting for the moment to emerge, and they always find a way out. Have you ever had an outburst of anger and then regretted it? Felt intense envy towards someone while desperately denying it to yourself? On the contrary, It holds many of the most valuable aspects of your personality: your creativity, your life force, your true strength, and your unpolished authenticity. You can never be whole until you integrate this part of yourself. To do that, you must stop running and start looking inward. But how do you face something that has been repressed for so long? How do you bring your shadow into the light without being consumed by it? The answer lies in a central concept of Jungian psychology: the self. Overreacted to a casual criticism without understanding why? If so, you have experienced your shadow taking control. When we don't consciously deal with it, it manifests in distorted ways, sabotaging our relationships, our careers, and our self-esteem. But here is the secret no one tells you: your shadow is not your enemy. If the persona is your shell, and the shadow is your exiled interior, then the self is the totality of your psyche that exists beyond both. It is the harmonious fusion of who you truly are and who you show to the world. Jung believed that the purpose of life was not to simply follow a path predefined by society, but to become whole, to discover your true essence and live in accordance with it. This process of self-discovery and integration is what he called individuation. But the path to the self is not paved for you. The greatest obstacle to finding the self is your fear of loss. And the most fascinating part is, the closer you get to yourself, the more life itself begins to make sense. Now a choice lies before you, an unavoidable one. If this journey resonates with you, leave "I choose to be whole" in the comments and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for your courage.